I will have the singular honor and privilege to welcome to the high table Professor Ikide. Please, let's join my hands together as we welcome Professor Ikide to the high table. The faster, the louder you clap, the faster he comes up. The louder you clap, the faster he comes up. As you can see, he's walking fast because you are clapping louder. So if you can make it louder, he will walk faster. If you want him to run, you can make it louder than that. Thank you very much. The second person is the representative of the Director General of IITA. Unfortunately, Dr. Sanginga will not be around here with us today, but he said someone that is capable of doing just that which he is supposed to do. Distinguished guests, put your hands together as we welcome Dr. Robert Asiedu. Put your hands together louder. I was meant to know that Dr. Robert was an athlete when he was in his heydays, so he would have loved to run today if you have clapped louder. Thank you very much. While we await the Oni of Ife, the next person here is Professor Janice. Let's put our hands together as we make welcome Professor Janice Olawoye. Let's put our hands together, please, and let's show him the Nigerian love. Let's show her the African love, the Nigerian love, please. The louder you clap, the faster she comes up. Thank you, ma'am. All right. So, I will, it's my singular honor and privilege to welcome to the microphone Dr. Robert Asiedu for the background of IITA Fellowship Program. Dr. Robert Asiedu, please. Thank you. Please, let's put our hands together for him.
Thank you very much, Mr. MC. First, let me apologize for the absence of Director General. He's not in the country at the moment, and Deputy Director General for Research also had to be away, so I was informed to step in for them. So, Professor Janice Olawoye and Professor Ikide Imumori, distinguished colleagues. It's a pleasure to be here today with you. It's a good day. It's been wet around this time, but everything is nice and green, and we are having the privilege of a some of IITA as we reflect on our 50 years of work. Research here, and you come over, spend a few months with the researchers here, and then you write up for your BSc degree. I managed to get the forms, but I think by the time I applied, the program was no longer running, so I didn't have the opportunity to come. So I then knew the names of some of the scientists here and all, but I could not come. But then, just after my BSc, I had the opportunity during my national service, which is the equivalent of the Youth Corps here, to work with 2 IITA scientists on a project in northern part of Ghana. So I worked with Dr. Blade and Dr. Balusubramanian, and I enjoyed it very much. This was just after BSc. So after my PhD, when I had the opportunity to come to IITA, I seized the opportunity, and then I joined IITA. I joined in 1989. And the training program at that time was pretty different from what we have now, because the funding mechanism for IITA and all the other CGIAR centers were very different also. We had a lot of resources from a number of agencies, and these were referred to as the core funding. And so various research institutes could make up sort of their budget for the year, and various donor agencies will provide some funding through the CGIAR office. But if there was any shortage, the World Bank was referred to as the donor of last resort. They would always step in. So the resources were available, and I remember we had 3 internationally recruited staff manning the training program, one specifically for training materials only, and then another for like the graduate program, one for the group training. And with that sort of assured funding from core resources, we could easily sort of lay out programs that ran for weeks. We have a group training program that will go for weeks here. And this was excellent. It really helped us to contribute to that part of our mandate of capacity development. And some of you may already be aware that the location of IITA here was not by accident. We were intentionally located beside the University of Ibadan to facilitate that aspect of our mandate, to ensure that we build capacity as we conduct research. So that helped us a lot, and a lot of people were trained, some of whom are now researchers here or researchers elsewhere. But things started to change within the CGIAR, and that affected our training program also. We could no longer sustain the team that were really leading the training program. And I should mention that at that time we also had the interpretation and translation unit attached to the training program to ensure that we could train people from countries where English was not used very much. So you could have those from Francophone countries, Lusophone countries, and we had 3 IRS also there, that's internationally recruited staff, these interpreters. So life was very different, but things had to things changed, and it wasn't only the training program that got affected. And as an example, I tell you, our resources in terms of research funding, in those days we had minimum sort of 85% of the resources being what we called core. That means it's guaranteed for the year. You can plan for it. Currently, it's the reverse. We only have maybe 20% if we are lucky as guaranteed funding. It's the researchers that have to find the resources through proposals. So that is sort of a normal part of the life here. You have to be writing proposals to find the resources. And I give this background to explain that really what we do in training is very important to us. And really, we would want to do even more. Whenever we assess that, we say, okay, how many students do we have? And how many scientists? And we look at the ratio. We always see, well, we need to increase that, the number of students. But then we look at the resources and we say, okay, where do we sort of have the balance between ensuring that those that are students here are well catered for without sort of also restricting the number that we take too much. So we have to create a balance. So moving away from situation where we had full scholarships for our students, including money from IITA core resources and a few from projects or specific funding for training that we obtain from outside. We almost completely now on situations where the students either come with their own resources from an external agency, or through some of our projects, and we also always want to ensure that the proposals that we write, so long as the donor would admit or accept, we would include. We had a particular proposal where the donor insisted no graduate fellowships. We pleaded, they said no. The argument was actually not sound, because the argument was that even if we train the students on that crop, they will move to other crops. So what is the point? But the donor really realized very quickly, once the project started, that it was a mistake on their part, because they were now insisting that really to get the research going within the project, we need the students. So now we had to work backwards, trying to cut off some of the other activities in order to include. So you can see that from full scholarships for students, we have a lot of visiting students now. And this is not the way we designed it, but this is the reality of the situation, and we're working very hard to ensure that we have more projects that would allow more funding for fellowships or studentships, and also specific funding for training targets for our proposals also. And I mentioned how important the work of the students is to our work. Really, although we look like a big institution, we see that we still really, in view of the mandate that we have, the number of scientists, just about 200, is pretty small. And to have really significant impact, to really create innovations, you need sort of the talent that you have in the young men and women who are sort of going in for their postgraduate studies. So it is an important part of our program, and this has been proven over and over again, because each of the teams that we have for any of the research units, you could see the sort of the contributions of the students within these teams. The fact that those who are really serious bring in new ideas, ask questions that make us think broader. There is no other way than to have sort of, say, have the senior researchers, have postdoctoral fellows, have graduate students. Now you have a complete team, because you have different levels, some learning from the others, or almost everyone learning from the other, because you also learn, whether you are the most senior scientist, from the students that are working with you. But the students have the opportunity with their energy and dynamism to bring in new ideas, ask questions that may seem simple but are quite profound, and allow you to sort of come up with even more work. The other aspect, of course, is the fact that it is through these studentships, or the fellowship and the graduate students that we have, that we link even much stronger to the universities that are within our environment. You make the links with the resources that are within the universities that otherwise may not really have been accessible. I can give my own example, where with my work here, when I transitioned from cassava to yam, the yam team was so tiny, very few researchers. So my strategy was to engage with a lot of partners, the research institutes and the universities. And the students formed a very good bridge for this. So I was trained as a plant breeder, geneticist, but then there was this need for a complete genetic improvement program to really have links to other disciplines. So the students that I worked with, I was only like a facilitator. And the links that I built was what made it possible for me to do my work, or for my team to succeed. So the students that I sort of was served on the committee for ranged from genetic improvement, all right, the breeders, geneticists, but then you had economists, you had food and nutrition scientists being linked upwards through my students. And you had the crop production scientists, plant health sciences. And it is through this that I also learned a lot from the other disciplines, because I was challenged then to know the basics for these other disciplines where I was not originally very strongly trained for. But you had the collaboration of the researchers from the other, from the universities, other research institutes, through these students who were really very dynamic. And I had the pleasure of working with 34 of them, 19 at PhD, 15 at MSc. And I'm also glad to say, although I tried to balance female and male ratio, I still came a little short. I had only 15 women and 19 men. So didn't quite make it. But that was important to me as well, to make sure that we had a number of female students coming up. So through this program, we have a new cadre of researchers coming up, and who really help IITA units to grow. And basically, without that, we will do very little. We appreciate this. But I give that background of the funding influencing our intentions, so that you would appreciate if you are in the category where you wish, okay, if I had full funding, maybe I could do a lot more. I remember from the days when I had students working with me, some of them would actually stay overnight in the laboratory or in the office. Occasionally, I had to leave my office actually open because for overnight use, because the students didn't want to go home and then have to sort of be without light for a period when they had something to finish. These were difficult times, but now I am proud to say most of these students, they are either lecturers, researchers, development workers, some even work for donor agencies. And so they've been through that. So we appreciate the circumstances under which you work, and we appreciate very much that without your work, IIT's work would also be very limited. And so for all the challenges that you will face, please note that you are very much appreciated. Your work is very much appreciated. It's just the circumstances we find ourselves that has not allowed us to have a complete full scholarship program that we implement ourselves. And therefore we have become reliant on other donor agencies to support this. So thank you very much for all that you do, and I know you will continue doing. Feel free at any point in time with suggestions on how we might improve further. And together, I'm sure we'll build up really a solid base for research, really contributing to development in Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Robert Asiedu, for that wonderful presentation. I think now we are now acquainted with the brief background of IITA Fellowship Program. Next on the program is supposed to be His Imperial Majesty's remarks, but while we await his arrival, permit me to make welcome the good message of IARSAF, and I would like to invite to the podium Mr. Felix Adegbeyingbe, the local organizing chairman of this symposium, someone that has toiled day and night, sleepless nights, to make this happen. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Mr. Felix Adegbeyingbe, please.
Good morning, everyone. We really appreciate your sacrifice, your coming around. The program starting by 8 o'clock, we are so impressed that a lot of us, even though coming from outside, have deemed it fit to make it down to the venue earlier enough. We want to appreciate that. Thank you very much. A goodwill message from IARSAF. IARSAF is an international association of research scholars and fellows attached to IITA. We carry out research, leading research, cutting-edge research, attached or affiliated to various universities in Africa, in Europe, America, Australia. And our research has made several impacts. And on behalf of the association, I'm very pleased to welcome you all to this year's 20th Symposium. It's an avenue of exchange of leading research idea among young research scholars or professionals. Among us, we have lecturers, we have research scientists, even usually we have policy makers, we have CEOs of companies, several donors. And in this very year, this year's symposium, with the theme of contribution of IITA graduate research in transforming African agriculture. You will all remember this year is also the IITA anniversary, the golden anniversary. So in a way to showcase the impact of IITA in sub-Saharan Africa and Africa as a whole, we've decided to make the symposium such that will showcase different research activities of the graduate research students in the different mandate crop: maize, cassava, yam, soybean, and cowpea, and to see the impact of our various research inputs in the mandate of transforming African agriculture. And as you know, IITA has affected a lot of life, millions of households in Africa through supplies of inputs, including seed of major crops, the major food crop, the ones I've mentioned, several delivery of technology, research technology, youth entrepreneurship, and student training. And in fact, currently, one of the major strategies IITA is using is such that we take the past 50 years record of research in further imparting livelihood in Africa. And the graduate research program of IITA is under the research, the R4D Directorate. And our R4D Directorate with IITA has delivered over 70% of CGI impact in sub-Saharan Africa. In the key tropical crops, which I've mentioned, there is banana, maize, cassava, yam, cowpea, soybean. With IITA graduate research, all of us, masters and PhD students, making a significant contribution in this field. You might want to know how we have made such significant impacts. Many of our colleagues, our senior colleagues, have graduated from, after finishing their research activity. Many of them are scientists in IITA. Several students have been affiliated or working with national program in Africa. So we have which are affiliated or work closely with IITA. So in several ways, we have actually made significant contribution to the success of IITA in affecting over 70% or causing over 70% impact in sub-Saharan Africa. And I want to give a special thanks to IITA, the management, for giving us opportunity to carry out our research under different sciences. Some of us are on full scholarship, some are partial scholarship. Most of our research courses have been taken by the IITA scientists. It's a very great opportunity. And to this very occasion, this 20th symposium, we also have the assistance of several contributors, both in finance, in services, and different ways to make the symposium successful. I will not be able to mention everybody's name. In Kaba Biotech, African Biosciences Limited, which also happened that the CEO in person of Professor Imoroma will be giving us the keynote address. Then the IITA R4D Directorate, their support can never be overemphasized for the success of this program. Please, I will enjoy us to help me give a sounding ovation and a round of applause to R4D for the support of this year's symposium. And on a concluding remark, I want to enjoy every one of us to take the most of this opportunity to interact, to felicitate, and share research ideas among ourselves. As you all know, we are the future of Africa, and the future is now. Our research impact has a long way to go in delivering Africa from hunger, in bringing food to our table, in improving the nutrition and livelihood of everyone in Africa, and to set Africa in the leading corridor of the world. So I enjoy us to take this great opportunity to interact with ourselves in getting research ideas during the poster section, during the oral presentation, and the various speech or presentation that we'll be having from our partners. On the final note, I want to welcome you all to the IITA 20th Symposium. And I want to assure you that it is going to be a lovely time for us to learn together and benefit together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Felix. Please, let's put our hands together again for him again, please. He's not much of a talker. That's why his voice is not as loud as mine. Please, pardon my overindulgence. I made some mistakes while introducing him. Mr. Felix is the president of IARSAF. Then the local organizing chairman is Mrs. Kafilat Adesola, and she's the vice president of IARSAF. Please, pardon me, please. So, ladies and gentlemen, after this goodwill message, I know we know what's next on the program, because some persons have been complaining that he's not from Germany or Russia, that this place is too cold. So I think the best thing is just to cool our nerves with some hot coffee or tea. So, yes, I know some people are already smiling with me, because you were frowning at the first instance, but now you're smiling now that you have coffee and tea. So please, We all rise for the tea break now, participant, for just the next 15 minutes. Let's take the tea break, and after that, we'll, with the keynote address by Prof. So the tea break, please. PRO, please, I'll need you around for how you arrange for the tea breaks so that I won't get disorganized. Thank you.